Today we're going to talk about, frankly, one of my favorite shows of the year, mainly because it's so nuanced. It's so nuanced and we get so many strong opinions either way on this that it's a fun topic for me. And that is doe harvests. Okay? We're out there improving our habitat, hopefully. Because of that, we have deer that are going like this. That impacts our quality of habitat. One of the things that is missed with a lot of hunters is we want more deer, more deer, more deer, more deer, more deer. That's good and great. Now, the problem is we get too many deer and our habitat suffers. They end up just literally destroying the top food choices, the secondary food choices, the tertiary food choices, on down till the point where what's left out there thriving? Starvation food. Why? Because the deer aren't eating it. So the starvation food thrives. At the same time, the highly desirable food sources that we want are literally decimated. The results when a population is at that point, the results are that you have much less healthy deer, way, way, way poorer recruitment, fawning success, way higher natural mortality. Frankly, these deer, they're living right on that edge. They're living right on the edge between life and death, and they have no wiggle room for error. When that's the case, one literally needs to harvest excess does to get that population down to be in balance with the habitat. At the same time, we have organizations out there that are just preaching and screaming, kill those, kill those, kill those, kill those. Well, you know what? There are a lot of areas in this country, several of which I manage ground in, that does not make a lick of sense whatsoever because the deer population is too low for the habitat. What you really want is you want to keep that deer population at approximately half of what is referred to as carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is the maximum number of deer on that ground that the ground can sustain. And by that, what I mean is for every single death, for every single immigration, a deer must leave or die because the habitat simply cannot support any more deer. That sounds great. It's not. So their population drops way down. The habitat improves a little bit as the population starts creeping back up, but the habitat does not improve to the same level it did before. Every time this occurs, what we are doing is we are leaving poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer habitat behind. Instead, by keeping the deer population at right around half carrying capacity, half of what the land can support, you can actually harvest as many deer each and every year, only these deer are they're fat, sassy, and happy, frankly. Their quality of life is so much better, and frankly, their physical structure is so much better because they have enough nutrition. And at the same time, we're not out there destroying the habitat. This is a real tough one for those of us who are managing our ground and trying to do right. Because the states and provinces, quite honestly, they do a pretty darn good job generally saying this is how many deer must be removed from this big picture. The problem is this is us in that picture. One tiny speck. It works great for wide areas, but in the micro, we want our habitat to be healthy. Okay. It does not matter if the state's deer numbers are way too low. If we got way too many and they're destroying our habitat and making it so that each and every year our habitat is poor, 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 and poor quality no matter how much work we're putting into it. For us to figure that out, what I'm about to describe, and I'll do this real quickly because I've been going on too long, is not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I know this. I know there's all sorts of flaws to what I'm about to describe, but frankly, it's the only and best way I know. And that is, each spring I go out and I inspect the woody browse. What I'm doing is I don't need to know what tree species, what bush types that deer prefer most. They're gonna tell me. They're gonna tell me because those are the ones they're gonna be eating the most. So what I do is I just simply go out there, okay, which woody browse species are they feeding on the most? This one, that one, this one, that one. I don't even need to know the names. I just need to be able to identify them. Then as I'm going through with my spring scouting and shed hunting, I'm taking a loose inventory of the browse that is easily accessible of those preferred species. If there's, let's say well over 30% of the buds left of these preferred species that the deer can reach, that means that, my deer numbers, I need to maintain them, but they're not out of control. If it's somewhere around 70, 80, 90% of these prime woody browse species that still have easily accessible buds left over, well, you know what? Chances are I need to lay off the does and help build the numbers a little bit. That's what I do. I try to keep it simple, stupid. I try to let the habitat tell me what I need to remove for does. Now, it does not tell me I must remove 10 this year. It's part art, part feel. Now, do it for a few years, you start figuring out how many deer on that ground you need to remove in order to make a difference. Start small and ramp up. It's always easier to do more later than to undo what you've done. The one place this falls apart is northern areas where winter traditional yarding occurs. If your ground happens to be that yarding area, it's going to be decimated. If your ground isn't that yarding area and the deer are migrating from it to those yarding areas, well, there's probably going to be a lot of woody browse there because, well, they're gone all winter. Outside of that scenario, though, if somebody's got a better idea, I'm all ears because that's the best. I know it's imperfect, but that is the best I've come up with for determining doe harvest. No, you are not killing every doe that moves. We do not hate does. We love does. Does are our friends. But we must deer population in check with the habitat, or we are being their and our own and the world's worst enemies. World meaning habitat work. There's all sorts of challenges to trying to figure out how many does to shoot each year. The DNRs and provinces do a great job of figuring out the big picture. From this big area, we need to remove X number of deer. The problem is we're just a speck in that big area, and we care about our habitat. We don't want it destroyed. At the same time, we care about our deer as well. We don't want to have deer populations considerably lower than what can be supported at a healthy level. Let the habitat tell you. Don't just go out there and wing it. Have a reason. And this is about the best reason I can come up with.